Hey guys, welcome back to another update. By that comes, I'm sorry for the late upload on Major Hurricane Kirk. Just been busy. And Tropical Storm Leslie. We've also got this area of interest. Well, this area of interest in the Gulf of Mexico, which could do something. As it says here, the Gulf of Mexico, disorganized showers and thunderstorms located over the western Gulf of Mexico are associated with a trough of low pressure. A broad area of low pressure is expected to form over the southwestern or south central Gulf of Mexico this week, and thereafter some gradual development is possible while the low moves slowly eastward. Could form during the next early to middle part of next week. If the low remains separated from the frontal boundary that is forecasted to exit across the Gulf of Mexico next week, regardless of tropical or subtropical development. Local, locally heavy rains could occur over portions of Mexico during the next few days and over portions of the Florida Peninsula late this week into next week. And they're giving it a 0% chance of formation in the next 2 days, and in the next 7 days, 40%. So this is probably not really going to form. The reason why is because there's a lot of wind shear in the Western Gulf. It could form in the Eastern Gulf, but it's not really not in the Western Gulf. In the East Pac though, you've got an area of interest here which could become a little small brief tropical storm possibly, but I highly doubt it probably could be a tropical storm because you had tropical depression 11E, which basically was supposed to make landfall here, but actually went like this, and did not become a tropical storm actually. And you have this area of interest, which, well, it's not really going to do anything, so there's no point me reading out. But the main threat right now is Hurricane Kirk, with winds of 140 miles an hour. So, yeah, with winds of 140 miles an hour and a pressure, let me just get the pressure up real quick, if I can. The pressure of 939 millibars, 10 knot, moving northwest at 10 knots, which is 12 miles an hour. So it's 120 knots right now. So the Kirk is generally going to be moving in this direction towards Europe. So basically, it's going to be heading towards this general direction towards um, towards like France and the UK. So we have to watch it around here for sure. We do have Leslie. I'll show you Leslie in a minute. But it says here at 11 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time, 1500 UTC, the centre of Hurricane Kirk was located near the latitude of 23.0 degrees north and longitude of 48.9 degrees west. Kirk is moving towards northwest near 12 miles an hour, and this general motion is expected to continue today and turn towards the north and northeast as a faster forward speed is anticipated over the weekend. Maximum sustained winds over are near 40 miles an hour. It was 45 miles an hour earlier on today, but I think it could be 150, maybe 155 at max. I think this storm was. I think that's what it peaked at. Um, with higher gusts, Kirk is a Category 4 hurricane on the Saffir-System hurricane wind scale. Small intensity fluctuations are possible today and tonight. Weakening is forecasted to begin by Saturday and continue through early next week. Hurricane force winds are extended out towards up to 35 miles and 55 knots from the 55 kilometers from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend on towards up to 195 miles. The estimated minimum central pressure is 939 millibars and 27.73 inches is expected. Surf swells generated by Kirk are spreading westward are and are expected to reach the Leeward Islands later today, Bermuda and the Great Antilles on Saturday. The east coast of the United States, Atlantic Canada and the Bahamas on Sunday, and the Azores, Atlantic Canada, the Azores on Monday. These swells are likely to cause life-threatening surge and rip current conditions. Please consult products from your local weather office. The next advisory is at 5 p.m. at Atlantic Standard Time. So I'll show you guys the quick brief cone because I'm in the cone right now. Yep, I tell you, I'm in the cone. Well, sort of in the cone. I'm on the edge of the cone. So basically, Kirk is moving west, like towards the northwest. It's going to go towards like northern Japan, no, northern France, and going to affect the southern part of the United Kingdom as well. So do expect some very gusty winds on Wednesday, near um, like Calais, Brest, Exeter, Dover, and all those places because as this moves, this is probably going to be generally moving towards the northeast, so it could make landfall near um, Dover or Exeter, which is somewhere here, or it could basically just move north as the high pressure system is here, and because there's a high pressure system here right now. Obviously, it's because this storm has found the weakness, of course. If this storm moves a little bit further towards the north, it could affect Scotland. Or it could, if the storm moves a little bit further north, it could put Wales in the cone and Ireland in the cone as well. But this is probably most likely going to affect southern England and northern France by Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. Keep up with the Met Office and Mattel France if you live in France, because you're gonna get probably gonna have gonna have some on France. You're probably gonna have like 5 inches of rainfall, and about 3 inches on the southern coast of England, from Exeter to about Great Yarmouth. But up to about here, we're gonna have some very um, we're going to have some very gusty winds towards the south, probably up to about 45 miles an hour, maybe 50 miles an hour, depending how strong their system is. But yeah, it should it should turn extra tropical by Tuesday. So by Tuesday, we should be keeping an eye on the system for sure, because it could move north of the forecast, or it could move south of the forecast. Could go anywhere in that cone. So if it tracks anywhere in this cone by Tuesday, it could put anywhere from Cork Island to Scotland, or or it moves further south of the cone. It could put Brest in the cone and put Exeter in the cone as well. So basically, um, it's not. It's gonna affect us whether no matter what. It's gonna affect England, and it's also gonna affect northern France as well. Spain could also get some little areas of rain from the outer bands in northern Spain, not near Madrid, and these places are here like Zaragoza or whatever it's called. Um, but Spain won't really feel the effect of Hurricane Kirk, like like England and France will. But that's Kirk. Um, 40 miles an hour, moving northwest at 12 miles an hour. Um, the next update is at 5 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, which I believe is in the next 3 hours. But arrival time on winds expected Tuesday 8 p.m. near France and England. So yeah, about 8 p.m. That's during the night time. So could be very blustery, very gusty, could have some very amount heavy rainfall. Um, anyway, let's move on with Leslie. Leslie's now a tropical storm with winds I think of 65 miles an hour. Yeah, 65 miles an hour, with a minimum central pressure of 996 millibars, located at 10.0 degrees north and 33.0 degrees west, moving west northwest at 6 knots, which is 7 miles an hour. So, Leslie's expected to become, well, it was expected to become a major hurricane earlier on today. That's backed down a little bit, but this could become a hurricane in the next update. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if Leslie becomes a major hurricane as well in this general vicinity where Kirk is right now. Now, some of the models want this system moving further towards the west. If that does happen, and it like hypothetically moves towards the west, but then doesn't turn until it gets near the Leeward Islands, then the Leeward Islands would be affected. But do I think that's probably going to happen? No, but could also happen. But I think they're expecting a peak of 110 miles an hour, I think, or 105 miles an hour for this system. But this is what the new cone looks like. Yeah, tropical storm force winds are actually are not really that big, but yeah, by Wednesday, 8 a.m. Wednesday, Kirk will be probably peaking, most likely. But let's have a look at the discussion. Yeah, 105 miles an hour. That's by Wednesday. So, yeah, again, that could fluctuate. That could get to 110, 115, 120, depending. If Leslie starts to rapidly intensify, then I think the storm could have a shot of becoming a major hurricane again. No, well, a major hurricane. If that does happen, that'd be that'd be a record for two major hurricanes in exactly the same place in early October, which this doesn't usually happen. Um, but I'll read out the public advisory for you. Um, At 11 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time, the center of Tropical Storm Leslie was located near the latitude of 10.0 degrees north and the longitude of 33.0 degrees west. Leslie is moving towards the west-northwest near 7 miles an hour, 11 kilometers an hour. A turn towards the west-northwest is expected later today, followed by a turn towards the northwest and an increase in forward speed early Sunday into Monday morning. Maximum sustained winds have increased to near 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour, with higher gusts. Additional strengthening is forecasted, and Leslie is expected to become a hurricane tonight or Saturday. Tropical storm force winds extend outwards until 60 miles, which is not a lot. It's 95 kilometers. The estimated minimum central pressure is 996 millibars and 29.42 inches. Hazardous affecting area. The next complete advisory is at 5 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. So that's what is. Let's see what the discussion is saying. So here, it says here, a recent SSMIS microwave passed descripted that Leslie is continuing to become better organized and is trying to develop an inner core. But bursts of deep convection have continued to develop mainly on the southern semicircle as the system is still battling some deep layer shear northerly wind shear. Given the improved convection pattern, the Dvorak intensity has increased this cycle with a date of T.3/55 knots from both TAB and SB. Using their estimates and improved structure, the initial intensity is set to 55 knots for this advisory. So basically, they do expect this to peak as 105 miles an hour, but that's them being conservative. Yesterday and early on today, they were thinking of this becoming 115 miles an hour. Now they've backed off that a little bit, obviously because there's a bit of wind shear which is affecting it, which is mainly due to Kirk, the outflow from Kirk. But I will show you the satellite imagery right now of Tropical Storm Kirk, no, of Hurricane Kirk, should I say. I'll show you Tropical Tibbets because Tropical Tibbets have Kirk. It looked so good yesterday. Because obviously there was a lot more convection firing up yesterday than it was today, but it looks like it's going through an eye wall replacement cycle, which is good news because this didn't get to a Cat 5, but it could have had a shot of becoming a Cat 5 because I think the storm was 150, maybe 155 miles an hour at peak. It is highly possible that the storm did peak as 150 miles an hour, which I believe it did on my analysis. But as you can see, this storm doesn't look as good as what it did last night. You can see here, you can see gaps starting to form in the outer bands, and you can see the convection. You see how it's just white here, and then the convection is just weakening right now. The eye wall is starting to collapse in on itself, so that indicates it's going through an eye wall replacement cycle. But as Kirk is still over warm waters though, about 26 degrees Celsius, about 27, 28 degrees Celsius was. So Kirk could still intensify a little bit tonight, but I highly doubt it because I mean it's going through an hour replacement cycle, and you can really see the inflow of major Hurricane Kirk. You can see that inflow really starting to wrap around the center circulation. Now, last night this system looked so good. Last night, um, it does look a worse for wear now, but you can see the outer band's pretty pretty small. But this was an annular hurricane last night. It did have some inflow bands from last night, but you hardly had any outflow bands last night. Now you do. I will show you the satellite imagery or water vapor actually. Water vapor. There's no dry air. Well, there could be. Yeah, there is dry air starting to ingest in the system, as you can see here, which is indicating the the um the gaps in the outer bands of major Hurricane Kirk. But you can see Kirk. If you bring this back, if I bring this back, if I create GIF and bring it up to a 200 frames, and you can see the storm um, really significantly improved. Now, the number of frames, this goes on this morning, by the way. You can see how much it really has decreased since this morning. Because this morning, Leslie peaked at 150 miles an hour. Could be 155, but I highly doubt it. But yeah, this is what Leslie looks like right now. This is what it looked like at 11:15 Z. So this was like very early. Like this was like very early in the morning. This is when it was peaking, by the way. You can see that inflow band, which is very small, but you can see the moisture. You can see the moisture of Kirk actually in extending towards Leslie, but you can see this inflow band. But now you can see, look at the eye. You can see the eye is just, perfectly symmetrical, perfectly round. But if you have a look, the convection starts to cover the eye, and then it does open back up a bit. And then on the latest frames, you can see the eye is starting to close up, which is indicating of an eye wall replacement cycle. So Kirk is weakening. We've got Tropical Cyclone Antje out there right now. We've got Invest 99W, Invest 98B, 98, yeah, Invest 98E, should I say. And we've got Tropical Storm, potentially Hurricane Leslie now. I think Leslie could. I don't think Leslie is quite a hurricane just yet, but if Leslie starts to improve a little bit more on satellite imagery, and moves away from that wind shear that's affecting it up towards here, because there's a lot of wind shear up towards here, obviously because of the outflow of Hurricane Kirk. But as soon as this gets out the outflow of Hurricane Kirk, as soon as Kirk moves away, this storm will have some very good conditions. The MDR is still warm. 29 to 30 degrees Celsius is where this system is right now. So this system could go boom boom, and could become a major hurricane. If this doesn't become a major hurricane, then I don't know what, because it's it's as soon as it moves away from that wind shear, it's going to be in very good conditions. Warm sea surface temperatures, little dry air. There is a bit of dry air around Leslie right now, but there's hardly any to ingest in the system. It is developing a core, as you can see here. If you look here, Leslie is starting to form an eye right there. You look, but then it gets covered up, but you can see that massive burst of convection towards the north of the center. But you can see it's more lopsided, obviously due to the wind shear, of course. But as soon as it's moved out of the wind shear, that's it. This system is prime time for this to really explode, like what Leslie did. Leslie really exploded when it became a hurricane. It was 75 miles an hour, and it really just exploded. But Leslie's got more. You can see all of the moisture that Leslie's got. It's just the wind shear that's affecting Leslie. But other than that, yeah, I'll show you the forecast model ones now. Forecast model ones, they do have Leslie, they do have Kirk as down as 958 millibars right now, the GFS, which I personally think that's a bit too weak, to be fair. They have Leslie as 991 millibars. Janet C has it as 992, so that's not far off. If you keep watching, you can see by Monday you can see an area of low pressure in the Gulf, well, in the Bay of Campeche, but in the Gulf of Mexico. You can see on Monday that Kirk is heading towards Europe, heading towards France and England, but it's also got an area of spin next to it, which I think it's going to be swallowing up another ex-tropical low that's going off Atlantic Canada. You keep watching. Pretty much that moves the same same direction as what Isaac did, but a little bit towards the south, and it goes through the English Channel. But by Wednesday, about 18Z, it goes over the south of England, like pretty much south, like the southeast. Yeah, pretty much the southeast, like near Dover and all that. So yeah, could have some very high rainfall. But let's look at Leslie. Leslie could become a major hurricane, but the model ones, yeah, you can see that it's expected to move a little bit further towards the west. You can see Leslie moving a little bit further towards the west, and before it obviously moves out towards the open ocean. And then you can see this storm that actually does become a probably like a borderline category 1 hurricane, and it could affect Florida. So if this does happen, by the way, that'll be three times a storm in three storms in one season has made landfall in Florida. That has not happened since 2004. The last time that happened was 2004 with Charlie, Gene, Charlie, Jean, and um, I don't know what the other storm was, but one of them came in like this. One of them came in like like this. Uh, so one of them formed up here came in like this. I think that was Jean. Charlie came in like this, and I think another storm came in this same general direction. So you had Jean over here. You had another storm that hit here, and then you had Charlie, which went like this. So that's like three storms in 2004 that affected Florida, but none of them really affected the Panhandle. We had two storms that affected the Panhandle this year: Debbie and Helene. Um, Debbie may landfall here, while Helene may landfall there, but Helene still went like this. Debbie, on the other hand, went like this. So this if this could become a hurricane. There's nothing really stopping this from becoming a hurricane, but they do probably expect this to probably stay as a strong tropical storm to a lowering hurricane, and then obviously weaken as it heads over Florida, but actually dies off and then reforms again up towards the north. But then you can see another area of low pressure in the Caribbean near Nicaragua and Honduras by Wednesday the 16th. So the Atlantic looks like it's waking up, and this is the activity that I was on about. This was the backlog season that I was on about. Um, yeah, let me show you the Western Pacific now. Actually, the Westpac has already had another major typhoon. I don't know if it was a super typhoon. I think it was super typhoon Carathon. I think it reached 150 miles an hour. But you can see another typhoon. You can see another storm forming in the in the Westpac. Probably becoming a very weak tropical storm. Um, that's it really, and that's it really. Nothing really on the horizon in the Westpac. They finally get a break after Carathon, but Carathon did peak over here, probably as 150, maybe 155 miles an hour. But I think it was 160. It looked really good on satellite imagery. Um, so the Indian Ocean. Let's see what the Indian Ocean wants. You can see the southern hemisphere does kind of have Ancha weakening a little bit. Look, by the way, that was the first storm of the southern hemisphere season. But you can see by Monday they do want an area of low pressure coming off India and actually really intensifying. They want two actually. One gets swallowed up though as it heads towards pretty much where Gatti may landfall. I think it was back in 2019 or 2020 actually. Um, but it's moving. It's going to be moving towards in that general direction. And when storms move in this general direction in the Arabian Sea, they tend to collapse, if you know what I mean. Like due to the very high wind shear that's in this area and the dry air that's in this area. But you do have it behind it a healthy, breathing tropical cyclone, which actually could become a major cyclone. 954 millibars. That's a Cat 3 on the Saffin Systems wind scale. So that does happen. That's on Wednesday 16th. It could hit anywhere in Mumbai. So basically, from this part to about here, needs to keep an eye on this system because it could track anywhere in that in that general vicinity for sure. You have another low pressure near Madagascar, and you have the remnants of that storm moving. I think it's Asna. I think the next name storm is. No, it's not. We already had Asna. Okay, so I don't know what the next name storm is in the Indian Ocean. But yeah, that gets down to 947 millibars. That's that's a that's a strong category 4. Um, so that um that could actually come true because you can see the massive outflow band and you can see the massive inflow band on this system, and the outflow band is rather massive as well. Actually, the outflow band actually so the inflow band moves in. I was it's wrapping around, and the outflow band goes. The outflow band goes um, through India. You know, gives some rain like towards Mumbai, New Delhi, um, and places that really need rain in India. Now this could move as it basically moves in this general direction. Um, it could slow down significantly as it heads towards the coast, which could prolong um, the effects of this system. I'll show you now the Eastern Pacific, and then I'll wrap the video up here. But yeah, the East Pac is not expected to get another storm. Probably like a very weak tropical storm, maybe. Um, yeah, like you can see, a very weak tropical storm is expected to form by Tuesday, actually. So that's a very quick forming tropical storm. It might not happen because look at Tropical Depression 11E, for example. Um, that was expected to become a 45-mile-an-hour tropical storm. It was meant to become a tropical storm Kirsty or Christy. I think it was Kirsty, but I think it's Christy for sure. I don't know. I think how you pronounce it, but it does head in towards Mexico as a 1006 millibar. So that's probably like 40 miles an hour at best. Um, and then that's it. And then nothing's on the horizon after that in the Eastern Pacific, which is good news because I think the East Pac is shut down completely now. You can still get a major hurricane in October in the in the in the in in the Eastern Pacific in East Pac, like what we did last year. Because this time last year we had Hurricane Otis, which made landfall in Acapulco, which is here. Um, but I don't think the East Pac will have after the storm. I don't think the East Pac will have another name system. I think the Atlantic will have a couple of more weak storms maybe after we've had these hurricanes. But the one in this system in the Caribbean. Now we have to keep an eye on this one for sure. This is where Helene generated from, that from the Central American gyre. This is a big area of spin. Um, so it depends. If this moves towards the north, it could hit anywhere near the US. But I'm not. This is like what? This is like 10 days out from now. So take this with a grain of salt. It might not happen at the end of the day. It does move back in towards. I think it's Honduras. It moves back in towards Honduras, but at the same time, it could basically do this a loop, and then move back towards the open ocean. If you know what I mean. But yeah. Anyway, let's wrap the video up here, guys. But yeah, you got Tropical Storm Leslie, which is potentially a hurricane right now, and you got Major Hurricane Kirk, which is weakening, probably 135 miles an hour now. To be fair, um, it should start weakening rapidly, so that's a good sign. As it's heading in towards the cooler waters of the Northern Atlantic, when it gets up about here, it should be moving into cooler sea surface temperatures. Wind shear will really start taking a toll on this system, and the dry air. You can already see the dry air is affecting the system for sure. And that's it. Yep. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the update. So it was a pretty long update. But yeah. stay safe. Um, and I'll keep you posted on potential ex hurricane um, Kirk, which could affect Europe by Wednesday, by Tuesday to late Wednesday, early Wednesday morning. So I'll keep you posted for that for sure. But yeah, stay safe, stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next update, probably tomorrow. And peace.